Okay, welcome everyone. Let's start lesson 3. This week, we're looking at LO3, learning outcome 3. As you know, we might have Anju setup. Please, if you have any question, drop me email anju@university.co.uk and I'll try my best to get back to you as soon as possible. Understand how to gather evidence when completing assurance engagement. And last week, we discussed about internal control, we discussed about audit risk, we discussed about assurance, and lesson 1 and lesson 3 quite relate with each other. So internal control and assurance. And this week we're looking at assurance process, techniques, of assurance planning, assurance evidence and assurance procedures, and sampling and testing, the computer assisted assurance technique, and we'll go through assurance process, but not non-profit making organization. Different stages required, including planning, collecting, appropriate evidence, and completing an assurance engagement. That all will be in our discussion, and qualification of report and impact of the legal implication. That's will be key in our lessons today. Okay, so we have the assessment criteria 3.1 is a discuss the reason for preparing the document relating to insurance and different stages of assurance evidence. Review the different method of obtaining evidence, which will go through assurance. And we'll discuss about and we'll discuss about issues arising for evidence and 3M, the merit criteria and different criteria. And we need these evidence. Sorry about it. Okay, the audit assurance is carried out by auditors by independent opinion and set up the financial statement required. The Company Act 2006. The companies to have an audit. Small companies, the turnover is 10.2 million, asset 5.1 million, and it lies less than 50, and if you're more than 50, that comes. So dormant companies listed in the banks and whether standard, these are quite crucial. We need to be. The report auditors are required to produce a report to the shareholders and express their opinion whether the financial statement in line with the international accounting standard, and those are true and fair. And assurance engagement in which the practitioner account and express the conclusion of the design and enhance the degree of the confidence, interest of the user, then the reasonable parties and outcome of evaluation. So in lesson 1, please, we already had a discussion about so different types of assurance, and that's quite crucial. We need to be looking around the reasonable assurance, limited assurance, and assurance never give the auditors absolute assurance. That's we need to be think about. Auditors is working in the best interest of the shareholders and the stakeholders. We need to be look around the stakeholders. Inherently limitation in audit, subjective judgment, and director may not give the full information. Whatever they gave us, we can rely on it. Okay. So please, financial statement, which we said those are in line with the international accounting standard. So financial statement, profit warning, going concern. So going concern means the company will carry on as a normal at least, for 12 months. So there is nothing is came in our notice that which we can indicate that the company won't be the going concern. So directors accountability, investment protection, internal control, the risk all, and a good corporate governance will help to increase and enhance the assurance. Okay, so assurance provision the communication needed directors required to produce financial statement, give true and fair views about the encourage to communicate with the shareholders, directors fee, and going concern and management of the risk. Assurance provision, assurance engagement, the professional accountant evaluators measure the subject matters and the basis of the suitable criteria and express an opinion and give the user level of assurance about the subject matter. Secretary and non-secretary audit, propose audit to give an opinion of the financial statements, solely reports the shareholder secretary audit is required in the company 2006, and non-secretary audit is also opinion on the other financial state. Advantages of the non-secretary audit, for example, setting account partnership and partnership account may be acceptable to the tax authority for the sale of the business, and the negotiation of the law. That is also very important in the financial statement. We need to make sure the financial statement are true and fair and in line with the international accounting standard. That we need to be. So internal audit is implied by the organization and the part of internal control and responsibility determined by the management and help the management carried out the duties. Those are in line with. So that's it. We need to make sure the truth and the fairness of editors give the opinion on the true and the fairness of the factual and the free from the bias of the reflected on the commercial substance of the transactions. So not opinion of absolute correctness, but obtain the evidence and test the basis only, and cannot give absolute assurance. Inherently some limitation in audit, so we have to keep in mind. Okay, so assurance reports. So auditing is not the objective; is the judgment have to be made, and not all the items of financial statement are tested. The limitation in the accounting and the control of the financial statement. Audit reports are the inherently limitation, and audit reports are issued a long time after the balance sheet date. So we have to think about audit evidence. Sometimes it indicates what the probe are not certain. So those we need to be looked around in the light of these financial accounting and audit standard. So we have a IES 500. It's called audit evidence state. The editors should obtain the sufficient appropriate audit evidence able to draw the reasonable conclusion about the audit opinion. So sufficient the necessary the quantity must be obtained. Appropriateness of the audit evidence must be necessary to be the quality and both the relevant and reliable. Is it sufficiently determined by the number of the factors, the materiality, the significant, the other transaction, those are significant. So we must be in line with. So we have to give the true and fair information. Reliability of should be the consider the source is reliable, written, external, and original. That's which we need to be in line. Okay. Transaction events. So please, as I did when we draw the opinion, we can look around the occurrence of the transaction, the completeness, accuracy, cutoff, classification is appropriate or not other presentation. Audit balances, so existent and the right and obligation. Sometimes asset and right and obligation is owned by someone else, and we need to be draw the opinion on the asset is owned by the company, and those are true reflect the value, because that's the value is one of the key issues in the light of. So we have to make sure as I did we give the opinion, those are reflecting the accuracy, valuation, allocation, and the classification presentation both are. So in analytical procedures, inquiry, external confirmation, inspection of the document, asset observation, and recalculation and the performance, those we need to be in line, please. we have to think about the expert, the person, the firm providing special skill, the knowledge and experience other than the auditing. Auditors need to be obtain the sufficient appropriate evidence that's perform the expert, the nature and the scope of the work we need to be accurate. The auditor must evaluate the finding and the expert review. Auditor must assess whether the expert competent and independent of the client and assess appropriateness. The exemption, assess the consistencies of the evidence and reliability of the source. That's we need to be look around. So with these, although the objective of the internal and external audit differs, the objective often similar. External auditors obtain the sufficient understanding about international assurance audit function and assist planning and developing effective audit approach and determine whether the possible is rely on the internal audit work, evaluation of the function and organization status, which we need to be the scope of and the technical competencies due to sufficient appropriate evidence. We need to be conclusions, valid, and the properties supervised and reviews. So data test, please. The test of the data is generated by the editors, which is processed using the client computer system. The software is specifically designed for the audit purposes and put dummy data to test it. That's the editors can go and ask, perform this task and then draw the conclusion and recommendation and assurance accordingly. Because that's one of the area we need to be look around in audit purposes. So materiality as expressed, the relevant, significant, or the importance of the context of the financial statement as a whole. Material of the omission, the misstatement, influence, the scenes of the user, and consider the whole, the financial statement and the individual item. Not capable of the mathematical definition, both qualitative and quantitative aspects. These, that's we need to be in line with. It's like, we quoted as an example of the contingent asset, contingent liabilities, the probabilities of the happening, the things. I quoted example in last lesson of the Facebook, the case against them in the European Court of Justice. The probability is more than the likelihood chance is more than 50%. Then we can reflect in the financial statement. This will be the liability. Okay, so negative assurance, agreed upon procedure, no assurance with completion reports. That's we need to be followed. So audit acceptance, planning the risk, materiality, the nature of the work, timing, internal control, substantive, and the compliant testing, and the statement of the financial position and audit completion include the going concern, analytical procedures and reporting and audit acceptance in annual, the cycle of the reports. Those we need to be look around in line with. So please responsive to the risk, the risk can be different types of risk, audit risk, assurance risk. So please, test of control, substantial procedures, the detail must obtain the sufficient appropriate evidence effective of the reliability and consider the generated by written document and original document. That's, we need to be test of control. So please, this have already we discussed even in our lesson 2, internal control and design and operations of things. The role of the control, testing the detailed assessment about the risk include, the expectation of the control operating effectively and performing the test of control and in line with audit. So substantial procedure, the editor is seeking the substantial as assertion known as a financial statement as assertion. So transaction events, trial balances, assertion classes of the transaction, which we can look around occurrence, completeness, cutoff, the classification, and about the account balances, the period, those we need to be in line. So we can use the word analytical procedure, inquiry, external confirmation, inspection, observation, recalculation, and the performance. That are the crucial that help auditors to draw the opinion about the financial statement in line with the financial standards and the accounting and audit standards. So analytical procedures, analysis of the relationship between the items, the data analytical procedure, comparison of the year's financial information, similar information the prior years. If change, like I to about the inventory, if the inventory devaluation methods change, so you have to be reinstate the previous year to the financial statement qualitative characteristic or the characteristic of financial statement with reliability, comparability should be matched. So we have to look around the link between the financial and non reliability relevant and available resources in analytical procedures. Those will be used and must be risk will be assessed. So overall, analytical procedures, please, we can look around these must be used, ensure the financial statement is reasonable, final reviews, significant fluctuation, unexpected relationship, those we need to be doing inquiries why this happened in the financial statement. Our figures not look appropriate. So the practical techniques, which we can accounting ratios can be used practically, significant relationship, payable, purchasable, inventory, current, non-current asset registered can be reviewed, loans, investment, and receivable. Those are also quite crucial. So one of the techniques, please, sampling method is also be, of course, we can't do auditors every transaction, but they can rely more on sample. So the sampling method is also be tolerable, the misstatement, the maximum amount of the misstatement, the population editor will accept the statistical sampling, random sampling, probability sampling, quota sampling, convenience sampling, whatever you do, and later on the audit objective, it should be achieved, and professional judgment is very important, which we can use for audit purposes. Okay. Consider the risk and expectation of the misstatement, accept the level of misstatement, greater reliance which we can result on the control and the audit sampling, the risk. So selection, the random sampling, the systematic sampling. So choose and then putting the grading against, so that can be a details can be used in analyze and misstatement and look around the sampling and qualitative aspect of the misstatement and extrapolated, again the whole balances of the population. So computer assisted audit techniques, please, are audit tests, which we perform using the computer and which can be enhanced, detail of the test, understand audit software, which can be things which we can rely interrogating, the data which comes comparing the version of the program. We can check, whether the system operating properly. Integrated test facilities can be the permanent test, environment need to be, the databases need to be looked around in. So we have a IES 500 sufficient appropriate audit evidence. So we have to look around the objective, express opinion, true and fair, audit every information can arrive, conclusion, and the evidence can be form of the test of the control, the procedures, including the test, the classes of the transaction, account balances and disclosures and substantive procedures. So the financial statement, transaction events, so please occurrence, completeness, accuracy, cutoff, account balances, existence, right, obligation, completeness, evaluation, presentation of the disclosures, occurrence, right, responsibility. So these are, the details give the opinion on and which we can use it. Okay, so audit procedures are inspection of the assets and the inspection of the documents, and we can look around computer assisted. But these, different program we can use it, that help, effectiveness, efficiency, sampling size, the data, and marrying in line with the different accounting standard and completeness inherently controlled in the strong substantive testing, required include, detailed and substantive analytical procedures. So audit sampling, usually, the evidence less than 100% item tested sees, international accounting audit standard 530, the sampling and other means of the testing. And please, of course, detailed observation method can be used as well. The sample size, it need to be reliable. Is it sufficient? And is it, acceptable? So you have to draw the conclusion and the result, and we have to look around the errors between is acceptable level of a detailed draw the acceptance level. The working paper is important, auditors work performed, enhance, the partner's review, adequate work performed, provide, detailed work evidence, assist planning and control, the methodological, the approach in IES 230 or the document or audit, those are sufficient, appropriate. Those we need to be the test and control, the type of evidence, reliability, audit testing design, fulfill the audit assertion, unless 100% evidence usually obtained, and all the work must be documented. So please, that's the mind maps also help us to be differentiate and look, so included for the reading link. Please, if you have any question, drop me email anjum@university.co.uk, and tomorrow lesson we'll go through LO4, and then the next week, we'll do assignment discussion. Thanks for attending and have a lovely weekend. Those are listening, please, you can follow, and if you have any questions, just drop me email. Thank you. Bye-bye. Bye now.